Robin.
What's wrong, Batman?
Someone's been snooping around here.
You don't think it's...
Hello, dynamic duo.
All right. Where are you, Bat-Mite?
Ta-da!
Bat-Mite, I thought we told you to stay in your own world and out of our hair.
I tried. I really did. But it was dreadfully boring. Besides, you need my help to fight evil.
Three's a crowd, Bat-Mite.
But all I want to do is help.
The Adventures of Batman. Welcoming you to the new adventures of Batman.
Welcome to episode number 25 of Batmanimation, a Batman on Film podcast exploring the animated adventures of the Caped Crusader. I am senior BOF contributor Ryan Lauer, and with me is the head honcho, editor-in-chief, Bill Jett Ramey. Bill, do you think that Pete is the only one who can't say Batmanimation for some reason?
What I've heard.
Okay. Comes up with this stupid cartoon by cartoon. You nail Batmanimation, I do, Javi does, announcer Rachel does. It seems like Pete's the only one that has a problem, but
Batmanimation.
He also says it. Batman, look at that. Just rolls right off the tongue. It's smooth.
No. Just as, this is like making the sausage, info. I practice every morning.
Oh, okay.
During the weekday, I get up and I just sit here in the office for 10 minutes and say it over and over again.
You're like Ron Burgundy, just Batmanimation.
Yes, exactly. Exactly what it is.
Perfect. Exercises, podcasting is a serious business. You can't flub.
Can't.
But,
no.
I'm very excited for our discussion today because we're dipping into uncharted territory here for Batmanimation. 25 episodes in, and we've never hit the 1977 Filmation cartoon series, The New Adventures of Batman, and for good reason.
Well, I was about to say it's either a combination or either whatever you want to, whichever reason you want to pick, right? It's either we've been doing some really good episodes of the other animated shows or movies, or we've just been putting this off. Whichever way you want to take it.
Maybe a combination of both. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it covers whichever route you want to choose.
Well, in all seriousness, I did want to hit this earlier, just because, for real, I wanted to, I want to dip into all of these series,
Sure. Yeah.
Good or bad, sometimes, we tend to take I want to do such and such from Batman the Animated Series. It's my favorite. Well, sometimes it's kind of interesting to maybe pull something from Batman the Animated Series that wasn't one of their best episodes. And same goes for all the other animated series or films. So we're not going to discriminate here.
That's right. And to cover the spectrum too, because how many, if you want to look up people reviewing Batman the Animated Series, you close your eyes, point in a direction, and you'll find a ton of outlets. This, I think, the show itself, and episodes I'm not even on, are fun to listen to, of dipping into series that don't have a ton of coverage and stuff. So we knew that we'd get to this series eventually, and I think historically there's a lot of interesting information about it. Not even dipping into personal feelings about the series and episodes and stuff like that. This was a quick little background info. Jump in, fill in any blanks, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but The New Adventures of Batman, 16 episodes, brought back Adam West as the voice of Batman, Burt Ward as the voice of Robin. Pretty much series regulars. There was only 3 other voices. Melendi Britt is Batgirl. Lou Scheimer, who is the founder of Filmation Studios, and then this is Lenny Weinrib. If I got those last few names wrong, like pronunciation, but Lenny Weinrib, I guess he did like the voices of everybody. Lou Scheimer did the voice of Bat-Mite. He is interesting to me that 9 years earlier, which you and I have talked about, the Adventures of Batman, in 1968. That was also a Filmation series. Now with this one, it's interesting because in looking it up, there was also Super Friends going on at the same time. So you had two different studios doing two different series, including the same character in Batman and Robin, and then there just became a whole licensing issue of villains that could appear on Super Friends but couldn't appear on New Adventures of Batman, and vice versa. You were a young wee lad when this show came on. Were you? What's your memories of this show when it came out?
I talked about this before, that Saturday morning cartoons was a huge, big deal.
Yeah.
For me, or just they were just in period when I was a kid, because I mean, all three networks. Okay, here's a little history lesson for some of y'all.
Gather around, kids.
Used to only be three networks, and that was about it. You had three stations on the TV, So I remember if someone said, we got cable, and they'd be like, wow, oh my gosh, and it was really just bringing in some stations from, usually these independent stations from outside of your local area. I know we would pick up, I grew up about 90 miles east of Houston. So we would pick up all the, the Houston independent stations. And then I think, probably TBS. I don't know when that, that was one of the first super stations, in WGN from Chicago, things like that. That was your lineup. You went from 3 to 10 or 11, So anyway, but yeah, Saturday morning cartoons were a huge deal. I remember they would have preview shows in prime time on ABC, CBS, NBC, with 30 minutes of, and with kind of like, it was like a precursor to like DC Fandom, if you will. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
A 30-minute version highlighting the new lineup of Saturday morning cartoons. And I used to watch those, to find out what was coming. So I remember seeing this coming, and I was excited because I was a Batman fan, but also at the same time, I was 11 going on 12 when it came out. And my Batman sensibilities were starting to firm up pretty solid by that time, because I'd been reading.
So were you reading the comics?
Yeah.
I was reading at that time too. Some context that dipped, Neil Adams and the Steve Englehart, Marshall Rogers, and the serious takes on Batman had taken over the comics.
Yes. Denny O'Neil and all that. So
Denny O'Neil, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I had progressed from my, talking about, the Adventures of Batman, or whatever version of that original show. Had like 400 different titles at some point. They paired him with Tarzan, pretty much, Superman. I mean, it was anyway. That I was, huge fan of the 60s series when I was a kid, and then that animated show picked up right after that. And I still took both of those very serious. And then there was that gap, like 9 years, almost a decade, and I'm reading the comic book. That was it, besides Super Friends. He had Super Friends, but I was reading the comics pretty heavily by that time. And then,
were you
I'm
deep
reading
into Super Friends at the time?
I watched it probably by 77. I was starting to wane on it. But, early, the,
kiddish?
beginning of, the beginning of Super Friends. And even then,
Yeah.
I was never a big Justice League Batman with,
Superpowered beings.
superpowered beings and all that. I just liked Batman stories.
Yeah.
And of course, and this is the day, back then, I wish we had more of this today. Each issue was a story, pretty much. You didn't have all these crossovers and this super long, story arcs. And you didn't have that lot of that back then. So like I said, well, just come back full circle here. Yeah. By the time this show came out, this series, I recall them really pushing the Adam West, Burt Ward return,
Yeah.
as the voices of Batman and Robin. I was excited, but
smart move. I mean, I think
Yeah.
as a marketing push of, the dynamic duo's return, Adam West and Burt Ward, they return to
Yeah.
Batman and Robin. It's like, oh my gosh.
yeah. So, yeah, I was excited for it, but I was hitting the age where even I was 11 and 12, I was not the target audience,
Yeah.
and I was a Batman. It's hard to say, it's weird to say, was this made for Batman fans? Because I was a Batman fan, and I had grown out of that incarnation, that depiction, that of Batman, and it shows you what studios and people in animation business or whatever, what they thought about how they viewed superhero comics and how they were depicted. That they have to be this way, and this is a good example of that. Of that for sure, because it's goofy as hell.
So with this, the first episode is what we're talking about here, The Pest, which first aired February 12th, 1977. I've only seen this episode once, and this is the only episode I've ever seen of the series, because when it was first released in 2007 on DVD, it was, and I don't know if I've said it on here or if I've just told you when we've talked, but I knew I was going to go get it. So I'm like, oh, this is an animated Batman series that I've never seen before. Of course, I just throw my money at Batman and and hope for the best sometimes.
Yeah.
And I watched one episode, and I honestly don't remember what I thought about it, but I do remember I never watched another episode of it. So on revisiting it, knowing its reputation now, all these years later, for this episode, I actually expected it to be worse. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I thought it was good.
Yeah. What's funny about it is that this is going to sound weird, but don't take it literally. This one, the first animated series we talked about earlier, the one that came out in 68? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more quote unquote serious.
Yes, absolutely.
Than this one. Or I should just say it's not in this, the 77 series is way more goofy and silly. Way more than that original one. And the original one, the original one ain't no Batman the Animated Series,
Yeah. I think so. When this started, I flat out thought like the look. So you have two series that are 9 years apart, but they're under the same studios, animation company. I didn't think that they looked too different. Nowadays, I feel like you do something like this. So let's see, Beware the Batman 2013. Whenever we see the Caped Crusader, roughly the same amount of time plus a year, they're going to look drastically different. Here, I just really didn't think that they looked too different. I didn't think Batman looked too different. The setting and stuff, the coloring and all that, I didn't think looked too different. So it's like the opening shot of it was, taking it to a house that Joker was at, and I'm like, oh, this, to me, this feels like atmosphere of Scooby-Doo. This feels like, Adventures of Batman kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. I just, for the episode as a whole, so there's an obvious, and we'll get to him. I don't want to, Bat-Mite, but the episode as a whole, I just kind of felt like, oh, I think the Adventures of Batman was much smarter, and each half hour ended up being like 2 episodes. There was a longer one of 13, 14 minutes or so, and then one that's like 8 minutes. I think that was really smart, because this kind of felt like, as I'm like the first 12 minutes even, and I'm like, this isn't awful. I don't like love it, but this isn't awful. It's kind of moving. And then I remember I checking the time of like, is this almost over? And I'm like, oh shit, we still got like 9 minutes. And I just felt like from then on, it was just like, okay, come on. And I don't know if that's how the remaining 15 episodes are for the series or what, but that was like my first feeling, like a thought review, if you will, by the time that I finished it, was just like, okay, this just kind of felt longer than it was. Never a good sign.
I'm with you. I got the same thing when I rewatched it. I was like, God almighty, I have to spend how many more minutes I have to go on this, because it would, they would go to like the fade out commercial break, part, and then come right back because there was no commercials. But it was like, you could wrap this thing up. You could have wrapped this. You could have made a lot tighter of an episode with this,
Definitely.
Because the bottom line, the overall story isn't anything too different what you would have seen in the original series. But you throw in the Bat-Mite bullshit, and it's just, it adds time, and I don't know what they were thinking. It's just like, well, I had a little, these little comedy breaks with this Bat-Mite and the whole it's this whole thing. All I want to do is help, and it's,
let's rip off that horrible Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Do you think that so all I could think of with him was like, all I wanted to do is help, is for some reason made me think of Baby Doll from the animated series. And people know Baby Doll from the I didn't mean to catchphrase, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder if there's any link of that clear back to this Batman, because I just felt like, is this the catchphrase they're trying to create for him? Of like, all I want to do is help. Like,
probably they did. That's what would be a intent. I don't know who thought that was a good idea to include him as one of the main characters of this series.
I come into this with a bit of a slant, because I have mentioned before, I wasn't even on the last Batmanimation. You and Pete talked about how I don't like Bat-Mite as a character. And so I come into this saying I'm open-minded, but I think, I know my feelings. Yeah. There are iterations of the character that you do like. You've mentioned it before.
I like how they did Bat-Mite for Batman the Brave and the Bold animated series. And I liked Grant Morrison's take to make it part of Batman, like it was part of his psychology, part of his I want to go back to it. It was a fail-safe type thing, right? It was, protection deal. And it's subconscious, in case Batman ever went off the chains, this Bat-Mite fail-safe would kick in and help keep getting back on track. But I thought that was pretty clever.
So from this iteration, something that does carry over in the history of the character is that this character is a huge fan of Batman. Like, that's from Bat-Mite in the 50s in the comics, right? The look of this character is atrocious, I think.
Yes.
So making him green, like, I don't know. I instantly thought of the Great Gazoo from Flintstones.
I was, you know what? I was just thinking that in my mind. It reminded me of, Gazoo. From Flintstones, 100%.
It's 12 years
And
removed.
he never annoyed me when I was a kid. You know,
Gazoo?
that character. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say Bat-Mite didn't. I just feel like Bat-Mite annoyed you as a kid too.
No,
This
that
version.
was no, it did. That's I knew about Bat-Mite because looking at, you even then I would come across, reprints of old stuff. I wasn't I didn't like, I'm not a fan of that. I don't like, a lot of that mid to late 50s, early 60s Batman stuff.
Yeah.
I appreciate the history of it, but I mean, it was Batman had gotten way off the chains by then. And I think, including Bat-Mite that was just, let's give Batman his version of, I don't even know how to, what's Superman, but it's the same, his little Mr. Mixoplex.
Mr. M. That's what I go with.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce that.
Mr. 25 consonants in a row, right? So
yes, exactly. So animation at this time was, I mean, it was kind of like facing what comics had for so long of it's for kids. Like animation at this time is definitely for kids. So you'd think of it in that angle, then the Bat-Mite inclusion like makes sense somehow because he really dumbs down the content.
Big time. And so
and I'm not saying kids are dumb, but it's just like, making it really, really simple television, and just the pure fact of somebody being goofy is just funny, apparently, and kids will love that and everything. But I just don't, in watching it and trying to wrap my head around the inclusion of Bat-Mite, I think I just don't know how and why. And then to know that what did I say, Scheimer, the head guru of Filmation, did the voice of Bat-Mite. Like maybe it was just, it's one of those things of the higher up thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, so he just demands that this character be in or something. I don't know. I don't understand why you go the route of this character when I think it's pretty universal by now that he's awful, and they couldn't have been that blind to it at the time.
I mean, it goes back to what I've said before. It's a very good snapshot of what people thought of in the entertainment business. In this case, animation studio and a network, CBS, what they thought about comic book and Batman, really. I mean, the only place you're getting any serious Batman content is in the comic books at that time.
Yeah.
And then that was it. That was the only medium really. And then you had the animation stuff because there was no live action. There were some of these, you were seeing any of that, like, they had DC characters doing a roast, like
really bad
garbage.
Suits.
Yeah. I mean, you had some of that nonsense.
I think I tried to watch that once and I couldn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think, even Adam West and Burt Ward took part in that horse crap. Again, it just speaks to how they looked at that medium, comic book.
Frank Gorshin is in that too, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I get that. It just, to me, it's kind of it is such a bummer because I mean, I've only watched a few still of the Adventures of Batman cartoon, but I really like that one. I think it's good, especially for the 60s and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it's slower, sure, but I think like there's good effort in here. I think it was good. The look of everything, actually, I think there's good effort there. Maybe because it feels just like a continuation of the prior series, but yeah, the content itself, and then the plot for this one, I was trying to figure out how to summarize it, and it's just like, I don't know, the Joker wants to take a car and fill it with water because then it becomes a nuke. What?
Okay.
Right?
Well, yes. It's
okay.
This is it it's always a professor, right?
Yeah, it's always
Always
a professor.
Okay. A professor had invented a car that ran on water instead of gasoline.
Yeah.
So the Joker planned to steal it. So, not because he didn't. I did pay a little attention here. He didn't realize it was going to be a bomb because Robin later goes back with frickin' Bat-Mite
Oh yeah.
and tells the Joker, "All right, Joker, you gotta give up this car because it's going to turn into a bomb." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, right, Robin."
Mm-hmm.
His angle, I guess, was just nonsense. I'm going to steal it and make a bunch of money. He ha 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 ha. Whatever.
Yeah, the laugh on that was a little, and then I'm gonna talk like this again, and then that I'm the Joker again.
So
it's kind of wild.
The like I said earlier, the overall story is really not anything different than you were to get in the previous series. But then the Bat-Mite stuff, and it weighs down. It makes Batman looks dumb as hell. Any interaction with any character, that Bat-Mite has makes, and it has them saying dumb shit too. In response to him, and I'm just trying to help.
Yeah. So a kicker for me is kind of like at the end. So I wasn't around in the 70s. You were.
I was.
Did you eat a lot of peanut butter and sardine pie when you were young, Bill?
Yeah, that was a staple in the 70s.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's
pretty awful to me.
Okay. That was another thing. That was, a bit you would get like, there's always that was like a reoccurring bit on like a lot of stuff. You ever notice that? And you watch some of these older things about someone cooks and it's always something ridiculous, combination of ingredients.
I'll start paying attention to it now, but nothing springs to mind.
You even saw some of that in Scooby-Doo,
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah. Some of the stuff that Shaggy and Scooby would eat was nonsense,
Yeah.
For laughs. So this was probably, ha ha ha. Yes, Dick Grayson making a sardine and peanut butter pie.
Because that's the that is established. That line's established at the beginning after Bruce beats Dick and Pong.
I wrote that down. Yeah.
Playing on a maxi screen down or they're at Wayne Manor and they're in matching tracksuits because obviously
that's what now that's very 70s, man. Those tracksuits like that. 100%. Yeah. And throwing in Pong was
at the time.
I had Pong.
I don't.
And it was a huge deal. I remember,
a revelation,
huge contraption, bigger than any console you would get now, with two little paddles with dials on them, and that's all it did is that one game. Yeah, but there had never been anything like that. You hook it up to your TV and you play it right there. Play this video game, quote unquote. So this is very
of its time.
Yes. Yeah.
So to blend it together of Bat-Mite, the food, and then the bringing it back around is like that's their punchline at the end, which they're breaking a Bruce Wayne rule of never in costume above the cave. And they're sitting there in the dining room with at night, the lights on, the blind or the curtains are open, and they're sitting at the table eating some of this peanut butter and sardine pie. And Bat-Mite takes a bite and he's grossed out. And then it just like it doesn't match up in tone, because you do then have Adam West taking a bite and Robinson thought you didn't want it, and he's like, well, anything that gets rid of Bat-Mite, blah, 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 or something. And it's like, eye roll. It's just it's inconsistent with the tone from earlier, because again, I like the looks of this stuff. I like the Batmobile, the bat suit. Robin's suit's fine. I know it's like the R on the chest is like inverted colors, but otherwise,
Yeah.
like, who cares? It's not really that big of a deal to me. Um, Joker looks like almost how I, really close to the
Yeah.
Adventures of Batman Joker. So it's like all that stuff. Actually, I think that's why I carried such hope. Is kind of like the look of it, though. Like
Yeah. And it
that's not
was,
so bad.
it's supposed to be another animated continuation of the 60 series.
Yeah.
But this thing makes the 60 series look like the Dark Knight,
Oh gosh, it again, and I know what I said at the beginning. I really don't think it was as bad as I expected, but I don't think it was that great. Shorter runtime, remove Bat-Mite, you could have a tighter, better episode.
You would have something just about exactly like you would have got in the previous series.
Exactly. Which, all right, fine with me.
Because the only time anyone's saying anything that's really super dumb and goofy and is like, oh, come on, give me a break, is involved when they're interacting with that damn Bat-Mite.
100%. Absolutely. Otherwise, everything is pretty much like, I'm not gonna say like focus, but it's like Batman and Robin are thinking about Joker. It's about Joker. It's about Joker. Oh, the Bat-Mite. Oh, Joker.
Yeah.
Oh, Bat-Mite. Oh,
He shows up in Gotham City. He shows up in Gordon's office in the Gotham City Police Department building, and Gordon doesn't blink an eye. And then he's gonna F up something there. Of course, that's what he does. And so he, goes to running, and then all of Gordon's papers on his desk, go flying in the air, and that's some funny stuff right there.
It's so clever. Is there any kind of highlight in this episode for you? Something that you did and genuinely like?
Golly. I'm really having a struggle here. I guess just hearing Adam West and Burt Ward, Now it was a much, much bigger deal when they came back and did the Return of the Cape Crusader stuff. But Adam West, it still is he's my Batman, so even the 11-year-old me was excited for for them to be voicing the characters. So, and I guess I would say the same thing about the today me. It was, it's always nice to hear them, but there's a part of me won't say it's kind of beneath y'all, man,
Yeah.
But it was a different time then. Batman was at a different time, different stage at that time. Just the way people thought of Batman. And hey, I guess with Adam West, Burt Ward, they got paid. It was a gig,
Yeah. For me, I think it's some of the looks, the settings. I really like that opening shot on the house that Joker's in. Just like I said, it makes me think of like Scooby-Doo haunted houses. When I do like, I think it'll kind of always get me in animation of Batman and Robin run the bookcase opens, they slide down the pole, and then all of a sudden
the bat poles. I mean,
the bat cave.
They're riffing off the 60s series, the
absolutely
live action, big time.
Batmobile is all right, looked like a Batmobile, but then it does a shot of like showing Wayne Manor, and then it pans down, the cave opens, they come out of the cave in the Batmobile. Like that to me is like always just kind of fun.
I was watching for little glitches, like when they first slide down the bat poles and they run and jump into the Batmobile, Batman jumps in the right side and Robin jumps in the left side in the back.
Yes.
Did you notice that? And then
did.
They come out. Yeah. So, I mean,
because I thought about that. I'm like, is the Batmobile just like over in England, like other side? And oh wait, nope.
Yeah.
Whoops.
And then, with Robin's logo, chest symbol, the R, being the inverted colors. I know there's some times where in some of these early shows like this, it was in
like flicker or invert or
it,
something.
it would invert. It'd be
Yeah.
yellow on black, and then you see it again, and it's black on yellow. Even the Brave and the Bold did a kind of a spoof of that had the this look, this Super Friends
Yeah.
/ animate filmation stuff, Batman and Robin, and they would from one cut to another, the R would always, and the bat would invert colors, and the R would invert colors, just because you saw that kind of stuff, and you saw the same action scenes over and over again, like if they're swinging on the bat rope or whatever, stuff like that. So
You just mentioned that, it made me think when I was looking stuff up online. Apparently, the Batman the Animated Series episode Legends of the Dark Knight, I didn't see, I need to want to go back and look at it. The flashback that's like back, like Golden Age version, was supposed to be, there were supposed to be nods to this show mixed with the Dick Sprang nods for that portion of the episode. Apparently that was Bruce Timm's nod to this series. I want to go back and see if I can spot.
Well, I'm going to have to go back and watch that
Easter
now.
egg. Yeah, because anybody that doesn't know which episode it is, it's a great episode that nods to different iterations of Batman, and it touches on different time periods of Batman's history. And a lot of people love the nod of looking into, well, I heard that he's, and then it's like Dark Knight Returns. Which, I mean, at the time that was really cool. But yeah, the opening one, which I was really impressed, was very Dick Sprang-ish to me. I didn't see this version, the nod, but yeah, I want to go back and take a look at that.
Well, I have to go rewatch that, because Ryan, I fancy myself a amateur Batman historian.
That's true. Yeah. So you have to see, and then if you don't see it, then you can say Bruce Timm is a damn liar. Do you have the gall to call him a liar? Anything else in this series, or not anything else, but that you can remember, is it worth watching any more of the series? I'm going to, because I have to watch all of it just for my bat card, my fan card.
That would be the only reason I would recommend. I'm one of these, like, you got to give everything just a go. Like, okay, like for example, we were talking about it before we started the show recording about or maybe it was during, I don't remember, but about this Gotham Knights show.
Oh yeah, Pete's favorite show. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, when it was announced and we started seeing the promo stuff for it, I'm like, oh, this looks like shit. I'm like, but then I said, okay, I'm going to try the first episode. I got 15 minutes into it, and I said, I'm not watching this no more. That's it. Done. So I at least try to give most stuff a go,
Yeah.
So that would be like, okay, if you want to be a complete, if you are a Batman, okay, if you're a Batman completist, right? Yeah, give it a watch. Have it on DVD. It's only on DVD right now.
That's the bad. Well, that's the bad thing. That's hard. It's like, if you want to watch it, you're gonna have to spend money, and that stinks.
Maybe you can pick it up from eBay for $5 or something like that.
Probably buy it used for pretty affordable. I think what makes it easier is that there's only 16 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I have it. If they had if they put it on Blu-ray, I'll buy the damn Blu-ray just to have it.
Completist. Yeah.
So that's who. But like, this is not. I wouldn't even recommend this to, like, hey, you got like 4, 5, 6-year-old kids. You want to get them into Batman? Show them this. I wouldn't even recommend. I'd recommend the first one, the original, over this one. Yeah, I'd recommend, for sure, recommend Batman Brave and the Bold. So
This I'm not opposed to talking about another episode of this at some point in Batmanimation.
is this a blemish on Batman's history?
I don't think
Is this
so.
a negative, or is it just the way, it's just because I would say no. I'd say we've had a lot of goofy Batman stuff over the years, and I think it's all part of Batman,
So I think there's a few factors for this one. The fact that Super Friends was going on at the time, I just feel like Super Friends is such a big thing because of like the different titles and how long it went on and everything and how many episodes that can help cover this little 16 episode failure. Then when you get with Batman's history now, like I guess you can thank Batman and Robin, the movie in 1997, because I just feel like everybody thinks that's the low point of the character, is that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this series, I feel like a lot of people don't know about it at all, especially when it's not even streaming anywhere. So it's not even a big deal to most people.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know about it. I'm not saying nobody does, that we found gold here. No, there's plenty of fans that know about it. But as far as it being a big negative on the character and stuff like that, I just don't think so, because it's had help to kind of just like fade into the bushes like Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. That's what I think.
I've said it before in this episode. I've said it anytime I've talked about this series. It's very of its time.
Yeah.
And everything that entails. I mean, it's just as a animated cartoon itself for Saturday mornings, it's very 70s. This is it. There were
it's probably
a lot
right on par with a lot of other cartoons at the time that we don't even know about.
Exactly,
Fits the mold.
It's very much that, and again, it's very indicative of just how people viewed Batman and comic book characters at that time. That they were, stuff for kids and fluff and goofy stuff. So,
I only wanted to help.
Yeah,
that's all the series wanted, Bill. It just wanted to help.
It just wanted to help. It wanted to help. Yeah.
I think of what now. I mean, I need to watch the whole series.
Yeah.
But I think this is bottom of the barrel Batman animation or live action at all for me, and maybe like a little bit of a gap, because I seriously do actively put on Batman and Robin, and I can have entertainment with it for 3/4 of the time.
Look here, I can say this.
Be like, sure, whatever.
So now it's been what, 26 years?
Yeah.
Batman and Robin. I can appreciate some of the things it was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I can make a case. Ryan, I fancy myself as an amateur Batman historian. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever said that. I can make a case that it is pretty faithful adaptation of Batman comics from some 50s and 60s era.
Yeah.
It just, but Batman and Robin is what it is,
Yep. And that's what I mean. Like, that's a lot of people consider that the low point, and then like
I would say this has got to be,
this would be what I put the absolute last resort Batman content to put a disc in and watch.
Yeah,
for me, but I'll keep watching.
Yeah,
because that's what I do for Batman.
Yeah. So so if you're listening, give it a watch. You see, and just give it
after
a watch.
Everything we just said, give it a watch. What an endorsement from us.
See how you react to it. But if you want to see the Joker, want to steal a car that runs on water so he
Yeah.
can make money.
Yeah.
I'm swinging the Mr. Freeze.
It's also
If
Mr. Freeze,
Mr. Freeze was in this, it would run on diamonds.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
But
I think that the fun in watching this for someone who hasn't watched it is the fact of like you are riding this wave of like this isn't so bad. And
Yeah.
then you have this bolt of lightning called Bat-Mite to just come and strike you, and you don't even see
Yeah.
it coming and knocks you
Yeah.
off. And you're like, what the hell was that?
I would like
that.
to.
Maybe that's kind of fun.
If
That's
I
the
had,
fun part.
if I had, I do have the time, but I don't have the desire. But someone
There you
take it and edit it and edit out all the Bat-Mite scenes. See how, and then watch it. See how
this
it,
is like
it
one of the
plays.
greatest shows of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be like Batman animated series level stuff by then. But and one thing
That's right.
in this series, in it before we go, this series had was, did you notice like at the end they always had the Bat message?
Oh,
Batman and
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that was great.
Batman
Batman got the last
well,
word.
chum, what did you learn from this today? And
Yeah.
and they would say, yeah, well, this one was, what is important is doing what's right. That was the message for this one.
I never thought of that before.
Yeah. So you had that.
Jeepers.
You had that in every episode too. The Bat message.
That was nice. I can't wait to learn more next episode.
Yeah. Only if you had known that it was important. What's really important is to do the right thing. If you'd known it before you watched this episode, just imagine where your life would be today.
Man, that's true. I wish I'd gotten in on this earlier.
Yeah.
I could have course corrected everything I'm doing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, there you go, Bill. Thanks for coming on Batmanimation and talking this show. We recommend you give a shot, but not our favorite. The funnest part of any of these, why don't you go ahead and plug away?
Oh, just go to Batman on Film, the website, batman-on-film.com. You'll find everything there. That's really all I got.
There you go.
Just note again, 25th anniversary of Batman on Film. You go to TeePublic, get you a BOF 25 t-shirt. The logo that Justin made is really cool. Looks good on shirts. I've got a couple of them. So yeah.
There you go. As for me, I'll push Batman-on-film as well, because I mean Bill has a recent post talking about the Batman saga and how it's breaking some new superhero ground. That's a good read. You and Pete on the last social hour talked about that, which is an entertaining conversation. There's been a couple of satellite shows recently. So check that out on the podcast feed. And then also my podcast, the Batman Book Club, has a new episode with Bat Pals Garrett Grev and Justin Kowalski, where we talk about our favorite Batman artists. And Bill generously posted that on Batman on Film. So Batman-on-film.com. Go there, because there's some good stuff.
Real quick, not to get off on a tangent, but I'll ask you. It's the Batman saga breaking new superhero ground, superhero genre, superhero shared universe, live action ground.
Yeah. I think so. It's something new. It's something different.
I asked Pete, I'm of the opinion the two characters in comic books that it would be the easiest to do this with is, of course, Batman. And I think Spider-Man. I know they've tried with Spider-Man and it hasn't happened. It failed. Or it's failing because they're still putting out these, they're
making money.
Raven the Hunter and stuff like that with Sony. But I think it's tough with other characters. I mean, Batman and Spider-Man have great stories about, they're what they're all about, and their complementary characters are awesome as well. Villains are heroes.
Yeah.
So I'm glad Batman is leading the way with this.
Always is. He always is.
Always.
He's always breaking new ground.
But he's Batman.
Not new to this.
No.
That's what he does. That's what I do. It defines me.
Yeah, it does. All right.
All right.
Just wanted to ask you that real quick.
Some stuff to chew on. Okay, Batman-on-film.com. And announcer Rachel will take us out because all she wants to do is help.
She does.
Thanks for listening to Batmanimation, a BatmanOnFilm.com podcast revisiting the animated TV and film adventures of the Caped Crusader. Follow Batmanimation on Twitter @Batmanimation. Follow BOF on Twitter @TheBatmanOnFilm. Follow Jett on Twitter @BatmanOnFilm. For Jett and Team BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Batman on Film, authoritative, definitive, the original, established in 1998.